Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood at the viewport of the transport shuttle, watching Vertex Prime Station grow larger against the black canvas of space. The massive structure rotated slowly, its rings catching the light of a distant star. He had been to many stations during his 20 years of military service, but never one like this. Nervous? Dr. Ji-woo Park asked from the seat beside him. She was organizing her data tablets, making sure all her research was ready for presentation. Hyunwoo shook his head. Just curious. The Galactic Council has never invited humans to one of these gatherings before. First time for everything, Ji-woo said with a slight smile. Though I still don't understand why they call it the Apex Conclave. The invitation was vague. Their shuttle docked 20 minutes later. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and they stepped into a corridor that seemed designed for beings much larger than humans. The ceiling stretched high above them, and the walls were a dark metallic color that absorbed light rather than reflected it. A Galactic Council attendant met them at the entrance. The creature was tall and thin, with 4 arms and smooth blue skin. Welcome, human representatives. Please follow me to the main chamber. The gathering has already begun. They walked through several corridors, passing beings from dozens of species. But Hyunwoo noticed something strange. Every alien they passed stopped and stared. Not with curiosity, but with something else. Something that made his instincts tingle. Is it just me? Ji-woo whispered. Or is everyone looking at us weird? Not just you, Hyunwoo replied quietly. The main chamber was enormous. Hundreds of aliens filled the space, arranged in groups according to their species. The attendant led them to a small observation platform near the back. Please wait here. The council elder will address the assembly shortly. As they took their seats, Hyunwoo scanned the room. His military training kicked in automatically, assessing potential threats and exits. But what caught his attention was the nature of the species present. Every single one of them had forward-facing eyes. Every single one of them had claws, fangs, or some other obvious weapon built into their bodies. Ji-woo, he said softly. Look at them. Really look. The scientist's eyes widened as she realized what he meant. These are all predator species. Not just predators, Hyunwoo corrected. Apex predators. Top of their food chains. Before Ji-woo could respond, a massive creature entered the chamber from a side entrance. It walked on 4 legs, each one as thick as a tree trunk. Scales covered its body, and a ridge of bone spikes ran down its spine. The creature's head was the size of a small car, with teeth that could crush steel. That's Thornscale, the attendant whispered, council elder and representative of the Draken people. Thornscale moved to a raised platform at the center of the chamber. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rumbling, translated automatically by the communication devices everyone wore. Welcome, hunters of 1,000 worlds, Thornscale began. We gather here as equals, as those who stand at the peak of our respective domains. We are the fanged ones, the clawed ones, those who hunt and are never hunted. We meet to discuss territorial claims on newly discovered worlds and to establish hunting protocols. Hyunwoo felt his chest tighten. This wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. This was a gathering exclusively for apex predator species, and somehow humans had been invited. Before we begin formal discussions, Thornscale continued, we must address an unusual situation. For the first time in the history of this conclave, we have attendees whose status is uncertain. The massive elder turned his head, and his eyes locked onto Hyunwoo and Ji-woo. The entire chamber fell silent. Then, from the crowd, another creature stood. This one was reptilian, built low to the ground like a crocodile but with longer limbs. Its scales were dark green, almost black, and its eyes were yellow with vertical slits. When it moved with the fluid grace of an ambush predator. I am Ragoth of the Velkari, the creature announced, and I must speak against the presence of these humans. Hyunwoo kept his face neutral, but his heart rate increased. Ji-woo tensed beside him. They arrived by invitation, Thornscale said calmly. What is your objection, Ragoth? The Velkari representative moved closer to their platform. Hyunwoo noticed that other aliens in the chamber shifted uncomfortably, creating space as Ragoth passed. This was not a being that others stood close to by choice. Raggoth stopped about 10 meters away and looked directly at Hyunwoo. For a long moment, neither moved. Hyunwoo had learned long ago never to break eye contact with a potential threat. It was a sign of weakness, but something happened in that moment that Hyunwoo didn't expect. Raggoth's pupils dilated slightly and the creature's body language changed. It wasn't aggression, it was something closer to recognition, or perhaps confusion. I object because... Raggoth's voice trailed off. The translator struggled with what came next, because they do not belong here, but also because they belong too much. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several other species voiced their agreement, though none seemed able to explain what they meant. Another creature stood, this one feline, in appearance but 3 times the size of an earth lion. Its fur was silver and its eyes were a striking amber color. I am Whisper of Death of the Shamir. I must support Raggoth's statement. When I look at these humans, I feel something I have not felt since I was a cub. Something instinctive. What do you feel? Thornscale asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Whisper of Death's tail lashed once. Recognition, but also unease. Jiwoo leaned toward Hyunwoo. Should we say something? Before he could answer, a younger Draken pushed forward from the crowd. The scales on this one were brighter, less scarred. I am Fangbreaker and I say this is foolishness. They are small, weak creatures. Look at them. No claws, no fangs, no armor. They cannot possibly be apex predators. Hyunwoo could have stayed silent. Probably should have, but something about the young Draken's dismissive tone triggered a response. You're right, Hyunwoo said, his voice carrying across the chamber. We don't have claws or fangs. We don't have scales or natural armor. He stood up slowly, keeping his movements measured. But we're here, and that should tell you something. Fangbreaker snorted, a sound like grinding rocks. It tells me the Galactic Council made a mistake. Thornscale raised one massive claw for silence. The old Draken's eyes moved between Hyunwoo and the other predators in the room. This is indeed unusual. I propose a solution. The humans will remain for the duration of the conclave. During this time, we will determine whether they truly belong among us. And how do you propose we determine this? Raggoth asked, still staring at Hyunwoo. The traditional way, Thornscale replied, through the hunt protocol. More murmurs filled the chamber, but these sounded approving. Even Fangbreaker nodded his massive head. The hunt protocol? Jiwoo whispered. Hyunwoo didn't answer. He was still locked in a staring contest with Raggoth. The Velkari's yellow eyes showed something complex. Not quite fear, not quite aggression. It was the look one predator gives another when unsure of hierarchy. Finally, Raggoth broke eye contact. The creature turned back to Thornscale. I accept this solution. The hunt will reveal the truth. Then it is decided, Thornscale announced. Tomorrow we embark on a traditional hunt, mixed species groups. We will see what these humans are truly made of. As the gathering dispersed, aliens continued to stare at the 2 humans, some with curiosity, others with that same strange unease that Raggoth and Whisper of Death had displayed. Walking back to their assigned quarters, Jiwoo finally spoke. What just happened in there? Hyunwoo thought about Raggoth's reaction, about the way the Velkari's instincts had clearly fired off warning signals, about recognition between predators. I'm not sure, he said honestly, but tomorrow's hunt is going to be interesting. What neither of them knew yet was that the hunt would reveal a truth about humanity that even humans themselves rarely acknowledged, a truth that had been written into their biology over millions of years of evolution, a truth that would explain why every apex predator in that chamber felt something familiar and deeply unsettling when they looked into human eyes. The hunt would show them what humans really were. The hunting moon was a carefully controlled preserve, maintained by the Galactic Council for exactly this purpose. Its forests were thick and dark, filled with creatures specifically bred to challenge apex predators. Taemin Choi checked his rifle one more time, though he had already checked it 3 times on the shuttle ride down. Standard ammunition only, he muttered to Hyunwoo. No plasma, no explosives. They want to see how we hunt naturally. Hyunwoo nodded. He carried a similar rifle, along with a knife and basic supplies. Next to him, Jiwoo adjusted the straps on her observation pack. She wasn't here to hunt, but to record everything that happened. Their hunting group stood in a clearing at the edge of the forest. Raggoth coiled nearby, the Valkyrie's muscles tense and ready. Whisper of Death sat on her haunches, tail swishing slowly. Fangbreaker towered over all of them, his scales gleaming in the morning light of the moon's sun. A Draken Huntmaster approached their group. Your target is a spineworm. It's a territorial predator, roughly 4 tons, heavily armored. It has been tracked to this sector. He pointed toward a device that projected a holographic map. Standard rules apply. Work together or alone as your instincts dictate. Return with proof of kill by sunset. Fangbreaker snorted. This will be over in an hour. The Huntmaster said nothing, simply activated their tracking beacons and returned to the shuttle. Raggoth immediately dropped to the ground, sniffing. There, the creature passed through here recently. The Valkyrie moved forward in a low, prowling walk, following a trail invisible to everyone else. The group followed. Whisper of Death moved silently through the undergrowth, her silver fur blending surprisingly well with the shadows. Fangbreaker simply crashed through obstacles, his size and strength making stealth unnecessary. Hyunwoo and Taemin moved more carefully, watching their footing, keeping their rifles ready. They had hunted together before many times. They knew each other's rhythms. Your species is very loud, Whisper of Death commented, though her voice held no real criticism, just observation. We're not ambush hunters, Hyunwoo replied simply. They tracked for about 2 hours. Raggoth led them deeper into the forest, following scent markers and broken branches. Finally, the Valkyrie held up one clawed hand. Close now. Very close, everyone froze. Hyunwoo's ears picked up a sound, something large breathing heavily. The vegetation ahead rustled. Then the spineworm burst from cover. It was massive, built like a cross between a bear and a lizard, with bony plates covering its back and tail. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of teeth designed to crush bone. It roared, and the sound physically hurt Hyunwoo's ears. Raggoth struck first, lunging forward with incredible speed. The Valkyrie's claws raked across the worm's side, but the armor plates deflected most of the damage. The worm twisted and snapped, its jaws closing inches from Raggoth's head. Fangbreaker charged, the earth shaking with each step. He collided with the worm like a living battering ram, and both creatures went down in a tangle of limbs and tails. Whisper of Death circled, looking for an opening. When the worm's neck was exposed for just a moment, she leaped, claws extended. She landed on the creature's back, trying to reach the vulnerable spot where spine met skull. The spine worm screamed and rolled, crushing Whisper of Death under its weight. The Shamir jumped clear just in time, landing hard and limping slightly. For 5 minutes, the 3 alien predators attacked with everything they had: speed, strength, claws, and teeth. But the worm was strong and well-armored. Every time they wounded it, the creature counterattacked with enough force to drive them back. Finally, Raggoth retreated to the tree line. It's too strong in direct combat. We need to separate it from cover and attack from multiple angles. Fangbreaker growled in frustration but nodded. Agreed. We rest and try again in 1 hour. The alien predators moved away to recover their strength. This was normal for them. Explosive attacks followed by rest periods. But Hyunwoo didn't retreat. Instead, he started walking forward, keeping the wounded worm in sight. Taemin fell in beside him automatically. Human, what are you doing? Raggoth called out. We're regrouping. You go ahead, Hyunwoo said without stopping. We'll keep tracking it. The worm, sensing continued pursuit, turned and ran deeper into the forest. It was wounded now, bleeding from several cuts, and its movements were slightly slower. Hyunwoo followed. This is foolish, Fangbreaker said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. You're not strong enough to kill it alone. Hyunwoo didn't respond. He just kept walking, following the blood trail and broken vegetation. Raggoth watched for a moment. Then something in the Valkyrie's instincts kicked in. Wait, I want to see this. The alien predators followed at a distance, curious now. For the first hour, nothing much happened. The worm would stop, turn to face Hyunwoo, and roar threateningly. Hyunwoo would stop but not retreat. Eventually, the worm would turn and run again. And Hyunwoo would follow. Second hour, same pattern. The worm was moving slower now, its wounds taking a toll. Third hour, the aliens noticed something strange. The humans weren't getting tired. They maintained exactly the same pace hour after hour. No bursts of speed, no desperate sprints. Just a steady, unwavering walk. Why don't they attack? Whisper of Death asked. Ragoth was staring at Hyunwoo's eyes. The human's face showed no emotion. No anger, no excitement, no frustration. Just patient, unwavering focus. Fourth hour. The worm was stumbling now. Its breathing was labored and its tongue hung out. The creature had stopped trying to threaten. It just ran whenever the humans got close. What are they doing? Fangbreaker whispered. His earlier arrogance was gone. Jiwoo, who had been recording everything, spoke quietly. Persistence hunting. It's how early humans hunted on Earth. They didn't run down prey with speed. They just never stopped following. Fifth hour. The worm collapsed in a clearing. Its sides heaved as it tried to cool down. When Hyunwoo appeared at the tree line, the creature tried to stand but couldn't. Its legs shook with exhaustion. Hyunwoo raised his rifle and fired once. The shot was precise and clean. The worm died instantly. The human walked up to the body, confirmed the kill, and then sat down on a fallen log. Only then did he show signs of tiredness. Taemin handed him a water container and he drank deeply. The alien predators emerged from the trees slowly. They stared at the dead worm, then at the humans, then back at the worm. You didn't kill it with strength, Ragoth said slowly. You just followed it until it couldn't run anymore. That's right, Hyunwoo confirmed, his breathing steady despite the 5-hour pursuit. Fangbreaker's voice was quiet. How long would you have followed? Hyunwoo met the young Draken's eyes. As long as necessary. Hours, days? Whisper of Death asked. We once tracked a wounded tiger for 3 days, Taemin said. In the mountains. We slept in shifts, always keeping it in sight. On the third day, it was too tired to fight back. Ragoth sat down suddenly as if his legs had stopped working. The Velkari's yellow eyes were wide. You chase until they stop running. Not until you catch them. Until they physically cannot continue. It's more efficient, Jiwoo explained, falling into her scientist role. Humans evolved in Africa as persistence hunters. We can't outrun most animals in a sprint. We're not strong enough to overpower most prey in direct combat. But we can sweat to cool down, which most animals can't do efficiently. We can maintain a steady pace almost indefinitely. So we just follow. For hours, for days if necessary. Eventually, the prey overheats and collapses from exhaustion. Whisper of Death's fur was standing on end. That's horrifying. That's hunting, Hyunwoo said simply. The group was silent for a long time. The alien predators looked at the humans with new eyes. Not with contempt or dismissal, but with something closer to respect. And underneath that respect, something else. Recognition. Fangbreaker was the first to speak again. We evolved to kill with strength. You evolved to kill with time. Different paths to the same place, Hyunwoo agreed. That night back at the base camp, the story spread quickly. Other hunting groups returned with their kills, showing off impressive displays of strength and speed. But when Ragoth told the story of the human hunt, the entire camp fell silent. Every apex predator there understood, on some instinctive level, what it meant. They had all evolved as ambush hunters or pack hunters who relied on overwhelming force. The idea of a predator that simply never stopped, that couldn't be exhausted or escaped, was fundamentally alien to them, and terrifying. That night, Ragoth approached Hyunwoo at his tent. I understand now why your presence disturbed me in the council chamber. Why? Hyunwoo asked. Because when I look in your eyes, I don't see the quick kill. I see something that will still be there tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that, Ragoth paused. Every prey animal on your world must have learned to fear those patient eyes. Hyunwoo smiled slightly. Persistence is the human advantage. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we're always still there when everything else has stopped. Ragoth nodded slowly and walked away, but the Velkari's words echoed in the camp. The patient eyes. The hunter that never stops. Tomorrow the conclave would convene again, and this time the discussion would be very different. The conference room on Vertex Prime was smaller than the main chamber, but still impressive. Representatives from a dozen species sat around a circular table. Sang-Woo Lee organized his presentation materials while Jiwoo set up the holographic display. They had been asked to explain human evolution to the assembled predators. Thornscale presided over the meeting from a raised platform. The hunt protocol has revealed something unexpected. We invited you here to observe, but instead you have shown us a form of hunting we do not understand. Please explain yourselves. Sangwoo stood, activating the display. An image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. To understand humans, you need to understand where we came from. Our homeworld has diverse environments, but humans evolved specifically in the grasslands of Africa. The image zoomed in, showing wide savannas with scattered trees. Creatures moved across the plains, some large, some small. Millions of years ago, human ancestors were prey animals, Sangwoo continued. We lived in trees, eating fruits and leaves. We were food for larger predators. Fangbreaker shifted uncomfortably. Then how did you become predators? Climate change, Jiwoo said, taking over the presentation. The forest shrank. Our ancestors had to adapt to life on the ground in open grasslands. We couldn't hide anymore. We couldn't outclimb the dangers. So we evolved new strategies. The hologram showed a progression of human ancestors, from small tree-dwelling primates to upright walking hunters. First, we stood upright, Sangwoo explained. This freed our hands to make tools and weapons. But more importantly, it made us efficient walkers. A human can walk 20 to 30 miles in a day without much difficulty. Why would you need to walk so far? Whisper of Death asked. Because of how we hunted, Jiwoo replied. She changed the display to show a human tracking an animal. We couldn't outrun prey. We're slow compared to most animals. We couldn't overpower them. We're weak compared to most large animals. So we developed persistence hunting. The hologram showed the entire process. A human spots prey and begins following. The prey runs away easily, but the human keeps following, maintaining a steady pace. Hours pass. The prey stops to rest, but when the human appears again, it runs. More hours pass. Finally, the prey collapses from heat exhaustion. Your bodies don't overheat? Regoth asked. We sweat, Jiwoo explained. Our bodies are covered in sweat glands. We can cool down while moving. Most mammals can't do this. They have to stop and pant to cool down. But if they stop, we catch up. So they have to keep running, and eventually they overheat and die. The room was very quiet. Every predator there was imagining being the prey in that scenario. Being unable to rest, unable to escape, slowly dying from exhaustion as patient eyes kept appearing on the horizon. Bo-Ra Yoon, the military strategist, stood next. This hunting strategy shaped everything about humanity. Our culture, our warfare, our approach to problems. We don't look for quick solutions. We're willing to work at something for years, decades, even generations. She activated a different display, showing human military history. Look at how humans wage war. We don't rely on single decisive battles. We fight wars of attrition. We outlast our enemies. We continue fighting through winter, through starvation, through massive casualties. We just keep going. This is madness, Fangbreaker said, but his voice lacked conviction. This is evolution, Sangwoo corrected gently. Every species is shaped by its environment. Udraken evolved to kill with overwhelming strength. The Velkari evolved as ambush predators. The Shamir evolved as solitary stalkers. These strategies worked for you. But humans evolved differently. We evolved to never stop. Regoth leaned forward. There's something else, your eyes. They disturb us, and I think I'm beginning to understand why. Jiwoo nodded. You noticed? Human eyes are unusual in several ways. First, we have forward-facing eyes, like all predators. This gives us depth perception for tracking prey. But we also have something most predators don't have. Visible white sclera. The hologram showed close-ups of various species' eyes than human eyes. The difference was obvious. Human eyes had large white areas around the iris. The white part of our eyes allows others to see where we're looking, Jiwoo explained. In most species, this would be a disadvantage. Prey animals could tell when a predator was watching them, but humans evolved this trait for a specific reason, cooperation. You hunt in packs, Whisper of Death said. Exactly. Human hunting groups needed to coordinate without speaking. By tracking each other's eyes, they could silently communicate. I'm watching that prey animal. You circle left, I'll go right. It made us incredibly effective pack hunters. Sangwoo picked up the explanation. But here's what makes human eyes disturbing to other predators. You see our forward-facing eyes and recognize us as fellow predators. But then you see the visible sclera and part of your brain recognizes something prey animals have. Eyes that can be tracked. It creates confusion. Are we predators or prey? You're both, Regoth said quietly. You have the eyes of a predator that hunts in coordinated packs, but also eyes that allow others to track your attention. You evolved from prey but became predators without fully losing your prey adaptations. In a sense, yes, Jiwoo agreed. And there's more. Human eyes are positioned to give us excellent tracking ability. When we lock onto a target, we can follow it for hours without losing sight of it. Our eyes are literally built for persistence hunting. Bora stepped forward again. This affects everything we do. In exploration, humans have crossed oceans in primitive boats just to see what was on the other side. We've climbed the highest mountains not because we needed to, but because they were there. We've sent probes to the edge of our solar system and beyond. We explore not in bursts, but as a constant, ongoing effort that spans generations. She showed images of human scientific achievements. In science, we spend decades on single projects. We build particle accelerators that take 20 years to construct. We study problems for generations, each scientist building on the work of those before them. We never give up on a question just because it's difficult. This is the human advantage, Sang-woo concluded. We're not stronger than you. We're not faster. We don't have natural weapons or armor, but we have something else. We have time. We have patience. We have the ability to simply keep going when everyone else has stopped. Mi Sun-han, the cultural liaison, spoke for the first time. There's a saying among humans, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. It means that no matter how many times we fail, we always try again. This isn't just a cultural value. It's written into our biology. Thornscale had been silent throughout the presentation, but now the old Draken spoke. I am 300 years old. I have seen many species, many forms of predation, but I have never encountered anything like this. You are patient predators, endurance hunters. The prey that became hunters without forgetting what it meant to be prey. That's a good way to put it, Sang-woo agreed. Fangbreaker looked shaken. When you look at prey, what do you see? Hyun-woo, who had been listening silently, answered, we see something that will eventually tire. Something that will eventually stop running. We see an inevitability, not a target. And when you look at enemies? Ragoth asked. The same thing, Bora said. We see someone who will eventually run out of resources, run out of options, run out of will to fight. We just need to still be there when that happens. Whisper of Death's tail lashed. This explains the unease. When we look into human eyes, we see forward-facing predator eyes that will track and follow. But we also see something else. Eyes that invite cooperation, eyes that speak of pack hunting and shared kills. And underneath all of that, we see patience, the willingness to follow for days, weeks, years. Every predator in this room evolved to fear nothing in their natural environment. Thornscale observed. We were the top of our food chains. We had no natural predators. But humans evolved differently. You evolved to be the natural predator of everything else, not through strength but through simple, terrifying persistence. The room fell silent. The alien predators looked at the humans with new understanding. Not just respect, but recognition of something fundamental. Ragoth finally spoke. I understand now why I felt disturbed in the council chamber. When I looked into your eyes, some part of my brain recognized you as a predator, but another part recognized something it had never seen before. A predator that doesn't chase until it catches. A predator that chases until the prey stops running. Until the prey cannot run anymore. Until the prey chooses death over continued flight. That's the human way, Hyun-woo confirmed. We don't need to be faster or stronger. We just need to still be there tomorrow. Thornscale stood slowly. You have given us much to think about. This conclave was meant to determine if humans belong among apex predators. I believe we have our answer. But the real question is not whether you belong with us. The question is whether we truly understand what it means that you exist. The meeting adjourned, but the alien predators left with a new fear awakening in their ancient instincts. The fear of something that will never stop chasing. The fear of patient eyes that will still be watching tomorrow and the day after, and every day until the end. Ragoth woke from the dream gasping. The Velkari's claws dug into the sleeping platform, leaving deep scratches in the metal. For a moment, the nightmare lingered, endless running through tall grass, lungs burning, legs failing, and always those patient eyes appearing on the horizon behind. The door chime sounded. Ragoth considered ignoring it, but recognized the scent through the environmental filters. Enter Thornscale. The massive Draken had to angle his body to fit through the doorway. He moved slowly, his ancient scales scraping softly against the walls. You cried out in your sleep. Others heard. It's nothing, Ragoth said. But the lie was obvious. I had the same dream 3 nights ago, Thornscale admitted. I was being chased, not by something faster or stronger, but by something that simply would not stop. When I woke, I realized I had never feared anything in such a way before. Ragoth stood and moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars. My ancestors hunted the great beasts of our homeworld. We feared nothing. We were death from the shadows, the perfect ambush predators. But in that dream I was prey, and the predator wasn't trying to catch me. It was just there, always there. The humans have awakened something in our instincts, Thornscale said. Something that has slept since our species reached apex status. They remind us what it means to be hunted. The 2 predators stood in silence for a long time, each lost in their own thoughts. In another part of the station, Whisper of Death sat in Jiwoo's laboratory. The Shamir had requested this meeting privately, which surprised the human scientist. I need to understand something, Whisper of Death said. When you hunt, when you track something for hours or days, what do you feel? Jiwoo considered the question carefully. I've never persistence hunted an animal myself, but I've done long research expeditions. Once I tracked a rare species of bird for 6 weeks through a jungle. Every day following, recording, never giving up. And what did you feel during this? Determination, Jiwoo said. Not anger or excitement, just the certainty that I would eventually succeed if I kept trying. It's hard to explain. It's like time becomes different. Hours don't matter. Days don't matter. Only the goal matters, Whisper of Death's fur rippled. That's what I saw in your captain's eyes during the hunt. Not passion or bloodlust, just certainty. Like the outcome was already decided and it was only a matter of time. That's persistence hunting, Jiwoo confirmed. The prey is already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. It might run for hours or days, but eventually it will fall. That's not arrogance. It's just understanding of how the biology works. The Shamir stood and paced. On my world, I am death itself. I stalk through forests and nothing hears me. I strike from shadows and nothing survives. I'm the perfect hunter. I don't doubt that, Jiwoo said. But watching your people hunt, I realized something terrible. If you decided to hunt me, I could run. I could hide. I could use all my skills. But eventually I would tire. Eventually I would need to rest. And when I opened my eyes, you would be there. Still following. Still watching. Jiwoo nodded slowly. Yes, that's what we are. It's horrifying, Whisper of Death said quietly. Every predator here evolved to kill efficiently. Quick, decisive, but you evolved to kill inevitably. Not quickly, but certainly. That evening, several of the representatives gathered in one of the station's recreation areas. It was supposed to be a casual social event, but the tension was obvious. Fangbreaker stood near the wall, his earlier arrogance completely gone. Hyunwoo approached with Tai Min. The young Draken watched them with wary respect. I owe you an apology, Fangbreaker said. I called you weak. I was wrong. You weren't entirely wrong, Hyunwoo said. We are weaker than you. In a direct fight, you'd win easily. But you wouldn't fight directly, would you? Fangbreaker asked. You'd retreat, and then follow, and follow, and follow, until I collapsed from exhaustion. If we had to, Hyunwoo confirmed. But we'd prefer not to fight at all. Taemin pulled up a chair. Humans don't like fighting. It's too risky. We prefer other solutions. But if we have to fight, we don't fight to win quickly. We fight to still be standing when the enemy falls. I've been studying human military history, Fangbreaker said. Your wars last years. Decades sometimes. How do you maintain the will to fight for so long? We don't think of it as long, Hyunwoo explained. We think of it as necessary. If something needs to be done, we do it, whether it takes a day or a decade. Bora joined the conversation carrying data tablets. I've been comparing human warfare to other species' approaches. Most galactic species fight decisive campaigns. Big battles win or determined quickly. But humans fight differently. We wage wars of attrition. We blockade planets not for weeks but for years. We maintain pressure constantly, never letting enemies recover. That's terrifying from a strategic perspective, Fangbreaker admitted. Most species expect wars to end. But human wars only end when one side literally cannot continue. That's accurate, Bora confirmed. We have records of human conflicts that lasted over 100 years. Multiple generations fighting the same war, never giving up, never forgetting. Ragoth entered the recreation area and moved directly to where Hyunwoo sat. The Velkari's yellow eyes studied the human's face. "I've been thinking about what you said," Rygoth began. "About seeing prey as an inevitability. Does this apply to everything humans do?" "What do you mean?" Hyunwoo asked. "Your exploration of space, your scientific research, your approach to problems. Is it all persistence?" Sang-woo, who had been listening nearby, answered, "Yes. Humans sent primitive spacecraft to other worlds knowing it would take years for them to arrive. We sent probes to the edge of our solar system that took decades to reach their destinations. We started scientific experiments that wouldn't produce results in our lifetimes. We built a particle accelerator that took 20 years to construct," Ji-woo added. 20 years of constant work by thousands of people. Most of them knew they wouldn't live to see the experiments it would make possible. "Why?" Whisper of Death asked. "Why commit to something you won't see completed?" "Because it needs to be done," Mi-sun explained. "Humans think in terms of generations. What we start, our children will continue. What they start, their children will continue. We're persistent not just individually, but as a species." Thornscale, who had been listening from his platform, spoke up. "This is what makes you truly terrifying. Every species here became apex predators by perfecting the kill. The Draken perfected overwhelming force. The Velkari perfected the ambush. The Shamir perfected the silent strike. But humans perfected something else entirely." "What's that?" Fangbreaker asked. "Inevitability," Thornscale said. "You perfected simply being there. Still hunting, still trying, still following. Long after everything else has given up." The room fell silent. Each alien predator contemplated this truth. Finally, Rygoth spoke again, directly to Hyunwoo. "When I look into your eyes now, I understand what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the hunter that doesn't need to be faster or stronger because time is on their side. Every prey species on your world must have learned the same lesson. You can't outrun time itself." "That's poetic," Hyunwoo said with a slight smile. "But accurate." "There's something else in your eyes," Whisper of Death added. "Something I noticed during the hunt. When you look at prey, yes, I see patience and certainty. But when you look at us, at other predators, I see something different." "What do you see?" Ji-woo asked, genuinely curious. "Invitation," the Shamir said. "Your eyes don't just track. They invite. Join the hunt. Work together. We can all succeed. That's why your eyes have the white parts, yes? So your pack can see where you're looking and coordinate." "You're right," Sang-woo confirmed. "Humans are social hunters. We work better in groups. Our eyes evolved to facilitate cooperation. So when we look into human eyes," Rygoth said slowly, "we see something contradictory. We see the patient predator that will never stop hunting, but we also see the pack hunter inviting cooperation. We see death but also partnership." "That's why you feel conflicted," Thornscale observed. "Part of your instincts recognize humans as threats, but another part recognizes them as potential allies. Both responses are correct." Fangbreaker looked at Hyunwoo. "If humans decided to hunt my species, what would happen?" "We wouldn't hunt you," Hyunwoo said firmly. "We prefer friends to prey. But hypothetically," Hyunwoo met the young Draken's eyes. "Hypothetically?" "We'd study you, learn your patterns, your weaknesses, your behaviors. Then we'd apply pressure. Not all at once, but constantly. We'd be there every day, every week, every year. We wouldn't fight your strength directly. We'd simply outlast it." The honesty was chilling, but also somehow comforting. At least humans were direct about what they were. "I'm glad you prefer friends," Fangbreaker said quietly. "So are we," Hyunwoo replied. "Persistence hunting is exhausting. Much easier to just work together." The gathering continued late into the station's night cycle. Slowly the tension eased. The alien predators began to understand that while humans were terrifying in their persistence, they were also reliable, honest, and loyal. The patient eyes belonged to a species that never gave up on its prey. But those same eyes belonged to a species that never gave up on its friends either. The alarm woke everyone on Vertex Prime at what would have been 3 a.m. by Earth time. Red lights flashed in the corridors as Hyunwoo pulled on his uniform and rushed to the command center. Other representatives were arriving from all directions, most looking confused or alarmed. Thornscale was already there, studying a holographic display that showed the space around the station. "We have a situation. The Viren are here." "The Viren?" Ji-woo asked, arriving just behind Hyunwoo. "I've never heard of them." "Consider yourselves fortunate," Rygoth said, the Velkari's voice tight with tension. They're not predators in the traditional sense. They're more like a plague. The display zoomed in, showing what looked like a massive cloud approaching the station. But as the image resolved, Hyunwoo realized it wasn't a cloud. It was millions of small creatures, each about the size of a human hand, moving together in a swarm. They consume everything organic, Thornscale explained. They're not intelligent individually, but the swarm has a collective intelligence. They overwhelm prey through sheer numbers. How do you usually fight them? Young-Ho Nam, the captain of the human frigate providing security, asked as he entered the command center. We don't, Whisper of Death admitted. We evacuate. The Viren can't be defeated in direct combat. There are simply too many of them. Evacuation protocols are ready, a station officer reported. All shuttles are being prepared. We have approximately 2 hours before the swarm reaches us. Hyunwoo studied the display, his mind already working through possibilities. How long can the station hold against them? Maybe 30 minutes once they breach the hull, Thornscale said. They'll eat through everything, walls, equipment, supplies, and anyone too slow to evacuate. 2 hours to evacuate thousands of beings, Bora said, her strategic mind already calculating. That's tight but possible. We should begin immediately, Fangbreaker urged. But Hyunwoo was still studying the display. What if we didn't evacuate? Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Thornscale commanded. You said the Viren overwhelm prey through numbers and persistence, Hyunwoo said. But that's not really persistence. That's just swarming. True persistence isn't about overwhelming force. It's about outlasting. You can't outlast the Viren, Regoth said. They don't tire. They don't stop. They just keep coming. So do we, Young-Ho said, understanding where Hyunwoo was going. That's what humans do. Jiwoo pulled up data on her tablet. The Viren evolved on a world with limited resources. Their strategy is to consume everything quickly, reproduce, and move to the next area. They're like locusts. Exactly, Hyunwoo said. But what happens when locusts encounter something they can't overwhelm quickly? They move on, Sangwoo realized. They find easier prey. Bora stepped forward. You're proposing a sustained defense. Not a quick victory, but a grinding attrition that makes us too expensive to consume. Can it work? Thornscale asked. It's how humans fight, Hyunwoo said. We establish defensive positions, rotate troops, maintain constant pressure. We don't try to win in one big push. We just stay in the fight. Young-Ho activated his communicator. This is Captain Nam to the human frigate. Begin moving into defensive position around the station. Prepare for sustained combat operations. You're serious about this, Whisper of Death said, but there was hope in her voice. We're serious, Hyunwoo confirmed. But we'll need help. We need your ships to form a perimeter, not for a single battle, but for days if necessary. Days? Fangbreaker looked shocked. You want us to fight for days? We'll fight in shifts, Bora explained, already drafting plans on a tactical display. No one fights continuously. We rotate units. Fresh troops replace tired ones. The Viren will think they're facing an endless enemy. Thornscale considered for a long moment, then nodded. We will try the human way. If it fails, we can still evacuate. The next 2 hours were organized chaos. Human military personnel coordinated with alien forces, establishing defensive zones around the station. Yoonji Song, a human engineer, worked with station maintenance crews to reinforce hull sections and set up defensive barriers. When the Viren arrived, it was like watching a living tide crash against a shore. Millions of creatures struck the first defensive line, ships positioned in a loose formation around the station. Energy weapons fired continuously, creating a wall of death that the Viren crashed against. For the first hour, it seemed to work. The Viren's numbers were reduced and the defensive line held, but then the alien crews began to tire. Draken warriors used to short explosive battles needed to rest. Velkari pilots accustomed to quick strikes found the sustained combat exhausting. Shamir soldiers, evolved for patient stalking but not continuous fighting, began to falter. That's when the human rotation system showed its value. Alpha Team, fall back, Young-Ho commanded. Bravo Team, move up, maintain fire patterns. Human ships moved forward, replacing tired alien vessels. The defensive fire never stopped. To the Viren, it must have seemed like the defenders never tired. This is remarkable, Thornscale observed from the command center. Your forces have been fighting for 6 hours straight. No individual unit has fought that long, Bora explained. Each team fights for 2 hours, then rests for 4 while other teams take over. We can maintain this indefinitely. Indefinitely? Ragath asked. As long as we have ammunition and energy, Hyunwoo confirmed. We've run military operations that lasted months. This is just another day. Hour 12. The Varan swarm was noticeably smaller but still coming. Alien crews who had rested were rotating back into the fight, learning the human rhythm. Fight, rest, fight again, never stopping but never burning out. Hour 18. Fangbreaker, back for his second rotation, found himself fighting alongside Taemin. The young Draken had learned to pace himself, not spending all his strength in the first attack. This is how you hunted the spine worm, Fangbreaker realized during a brief lull, not with overwhelming force but with steady, endless pressure. Exactly, Taemin confirmed. The key is being there when your enemy can't continue anymore. Hour 24. A full day of fighting. The Viren swarm had lost over half its numbers. More importantly, its behavior was changing. The collective intelligence was recognizing that this prey was too expensive to consume. Hour 30. The Viren began to withdraw, moving away from the station in search of easier targets. They're leaving, Whisper of Death reported from her ship. We won. We outlasted them, Hyunwoo corrected. The command center erupted in celebration, but it was a tired, measured celebration. Everyone was exhausted, even the humans who had been rotating regularly. Thornscale approached Hyunwoo as crews began standing down. You did it. The human way actually worked. It usually does, Hyunwoo said, given enough time. Ragath joined them, the Velkari moving slowly. I understand now completely. This wasn't just a battle. This was a demonstration of what makes humans apex predators. How so? Jiwoo asked. Every species here came to this station as apex predators of their own worlds, Ragath explained. We all reached the top through perfecting some aspect of killing. The Draken with strength, my people with ambush tactics, the Shamir with stealth, but humans reached the top through something else entirely. We perfected endurance, Sangwoo said. More than that, Thornscale added. You perfected the art of still being there. Not stronger, not faster, but present. Today, the Viren encountered something they couldn't overwhelm because you simply refused to be overwhelmed. Fangbreaker looked at the humans with newfound respect. My ancestor once told me that the greatest predators kill efficiently. But watching you, I realize the greatest predators kill inevitably. When the Viren looked at our defensive line, Bora said, they saw what every prey animal in Earth's history saw. Eyes that would still be watching tomorrow. Determination that wouldn't fade. Pressure that wouldn't let up. The patient eyes, Whisper of Death said softly. That's what we sense when we look at humans. We see the predator that doesn't need to catch us today, because it knows it will catch us eventually. The formal conclave meeting was held 3 days later, after everyone had rested. The mood in the chamber was completely different from the first day. Thornscale stood at the center platform. This conclave was called to determine if humans belong among apex predators. After the events of the past week, I believe the answer is clear. Humans are not just apex predators. They represent a different path to the apex, a path none of our species traveled. All of us perfected the kill, Ragath agreed. Humans perfected the hunt. Therefore, Thornscale continued, I propose that humanity be formally recognized as an apex predator species and granted full rights in the Galactic Council. The vote was unanimous. After the meeting, Ragath approached Hyunwoo one last time. I need to tell you something. When I first saw you in this chamber, I felt fear. Instinctive, primal fear. I couldn't explain it then. And now? Hyunwoo asked. Now I understand. When I look into human eyes, I see what every prey species on your world learned to fear. I see the hunter that will be there tomorrow and the next day and every day after until the end. I see patience itself weaponized. That's what made us apex predators, Hyunwoo agreed. Not fangs or claws, but the simple fact that we never stop.